when we add something like 55 plus 67, it would give us the answer that we want, which is 122. In binary form, it'd be a little bit tedious just to do all the math inside our head. So what if there was a way to display the number in decimal form? What I have here is a 7-segment display. Each lever in the back would allow me to turn on separate segments of the display. Activating a certain combination of switches would allow me to display certain numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and lastly 0. Flipping through switches is obviously tedious. So what if there's a way to have our binary numbers make the decimal numbers appear on the spot? Now what we could do is just make a basic AND gate decoder and plug it straight into the 7-segment display. But as the bit width expands, it would require way more AND gates, making it even more complex or difficult to wire. So there should be an easier way to decode, right? Well, yes there is, but let's go and do some basic review first. In the base 10 numeral system, we know that there's about 10 digits used. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. After 9, it would shift over to the left. And every single time it shifts over to the left, it would be multiplied by 10. And then we just have to add up whatever values got shifted. And in binary, or base 2, it would represent numbers using 1s and 0s. And every single time it shifts over to the left, it would be multiplied by 2. So what does this have to do with making binary represent decimal numbers? Well, there's something called binary coded decimal, or BCD, and it would utilize a 4-bit binary sequence. Just like in decimal, the max value would be 9, or 1001. Anything higher than 9 would be considered invalid. These invalid numbers would just be considered binary. But there is a way to convert binary into BCD. All you have to do is just add 6. So let's say 1011 or 11. When we add 6, it would shift over to a new 4-bit binary sequence. So let's go and add 6, and this makes up 11. Let's do another example that would probably make more sense. Let's say 13 in binary, or 1101, and this would give us 13 in binary coded decimal. If you still didn't get it, the binary coded decimal makes up the 9 digits, just like in normal decimal. The left is the hundreds place, the middle is the tenths place, and the right is the ones place. So what does all this numerical stuff have to do with displaying a number? Well, let's go and take a look back at our 7-segment display. So we know that different combinations make up different numbers, but we don't really know what to do with them. So let's go and write them down first. We can start off with 1. I'll write down the combination here. Then we can write down 2. And then I'll do the rest of the numbers in just a time lapse. So we have our list of numbers, but what can we even do with them? You may be thinking, we can just throw them on the screen, right? Well, yeah, we can just use a lookup table and have them sent into the screen, but let's say that we don't know what those terms are, so let's go and do something more simple. Let's start by writing down all of these values. Since we know that we're dealing with base 10 in binary coded decimal, we can write down 9 values. We can also imagine that these bits are written down as A, B, C, and D. Now let's also drag in the combinations that make up the numbers 0 through 9. So how are these combinations going to help us display a number? Well, let's start off by looking at one singular segment, segment A. We can see that segment A would only be off if a 1 and 4 is on. We could actually rewrite these numbers as equations, where 1 would be A plus B plus C, not D, and 4 would be A, not B, plus C plus D. Now if we look closely, there would be actually 2 alike terms, A and C. This means we can factor it down. Now if we look at these 2 values, we could also FOIL these 2 down, so let's go and do it. Now we could also rewrite these 2 terms as X NOR, bringing us a fully factored equation A or C or B X NOR D. Now that we have our equation, let's go and test this inside Build a Boat for Treasure. On the top I have my inputs, A, B, C, and D. And in the equation, we knew that there was an exclusive NOR and an OR operator. Let's plug in B and D into the exclusive NOR gate, and then plug in the rest of the inputs into the OR gate. Now let's plug this into input A and test. So if the BCD number is 1, then output A should turn off, and for all the other numbers it should stay on except for 4. So it looks like our equation works. So let's go and do all our other inputs. And now with our decoder compacted and finished, we're able to write our binary coded decimal and have it appear as numbers. But we can't really do anything with just this. I mean, how would we convert binary into BCD as a circuit? Let's take a look back at the basics. Over here, I hooked up our 7-segment display into 2 separate 4-bit segments of this 8-bit counter. In BCD, we know that any value under 9 is valid. and any value above 9 is considered invalid, giving us no value. Let's say we have a value of 13. To convert this invalid binary number into BCD, what we have to do is just add 6, and this would give us 13 in binary coded decimal. Now, it would be tiring just to add by hand, so what if there was a way to make a circuit that would do this for us? Let's first try to understand what's happening. On the right, I have 181 in binary form. On the left, we have our BCD outputs. Let's go down and shift over to the left. If the cell is greater or equal to 5, then we'd have to add 3. But wait, why do you think we have to do this in the first place? Well, remember, in binary, when you shift the bits to the left, it would effectively multiply the bits by 2. And because in BCD, the digits should reset to 0 after 9. So this means any digit at 5 or higher will mathematically overflow past 9 when doubled. So adding 3 would act as an offset. Now that we entirely understand what we're doing, let's get back into it. So let's go and shift left one more time. And we can see in the first cell that it's greater than 5 here. So we must add 3. Let's go and shift again. And now we can see on the second cell, it is 9 which is greater than 5. So we add 3 on the second cell. Now let's go and shift again. And this gives us our desired value. 1, 8, and 1 in BCD. I also do recommend pausing to see what happened. Now, plugging in the output directly into a display would give us 181, which is the binary value we started with. This algorithm that we just did was called Dabble. So, how are we supposed to make this algorithm into a circuit? Well, let's find out. So there's only 2 steps in Dabble that we know of, which is shift over to the left, and if it's greater than 5, then we add 3. I'll start by making my outputs. In this, I made it so that if the value is 5, then it would turn off this switch up here, disabling all normal outputs. Then I can have this toggle the value of what 5 plus 3 would be, which would be 8. Now let's go and do this for the rest of the values. So now any value under 5 should output normally, but once it turns 5, it should become an 8, 6 should become a 9, 7 should become a 10, 8 should become 11, and 9 should become a 12. Great, so it works. Now that we have our cell, let's go and start making our circuit. Well, let's go look back on our diagram. In the diagram that we showed, it would start taking in a value after the 3rd bit. So let's bring in our Dabble circuit, and then I'll wire the last values as if it's just shifted in 3 bits up. And then we shift over to the left, and then read the next bit. Then we're going to duplicate and shift over and read the next bit again. Now if we look over at our diagram, you can see that after it passes 3, it would also need its own Dabble. So let's go and shift this down, and then duplicate this to our side for our 10th place, and then connect all our bits. Now we can duplicate and shift over to the left once more. Now since the first bit can't get affected at all, we're just going to drag this straight down. And we're also going to make an output for the second bit on the hundreds place. Let's also rearrange this into something more readable for the hundreds place, the tens place, and the ones place. Now let's try something like 128. Now it gives us a 1, 2, and 8 in BCD, which is 128. Now using our 7-segment display with the 4-bit decoders would allow us to visualize the binary coded decimal numbers, like 128, 32, and 6. So now if we come back to our calculator with the newly made displays, when we calculate 55 plus 67, now it would show us an easier to read value, 122. We have learned about the 7-segment display, binary coded decimal, and also how computers display numbers. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, or something, I don't know. I did this video before the division circuit because I wanted to be able to visualize your numbers without having to struggle at all. I honestly don't have anything else to say, so see y'all and bye.